Welcome to the Idea Climbing Podcast. We all have an emotional source code that is set when we were children. It's what drives us and why we do everything we do. What if that code isn't working to your advantage? You can change it. In this episode, I discuss how to do that with my guest, Dov Baron. For over 30 years, Dov has been empowering inquisitive leaders and influential figures worldwide to explore their own emotional source code and their organization's emotional source code to discover how to generate fierce loyalty. He is a creator and host of the Dov Baron Show podcast, named the #1 podcast for Fortune 500 executives by Apple Podcasts. The Dov Baron Show has featured hundreds of hours of interviews with top leaders, entrepreneurs, theologians, military intelligence officers, artists, and more. We dive into topics such as how childhood beliefs and identities are formed and what that means to you as an adult, the 5 foundations of your emotional source code, the one thing above all else that you need to do to change your emotional source code, and more golden nuggets of advice. You're going to love this show. Dov, thank you for making time to be here on the Idea Climbing Podcast. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. I'm looking forward to serving you and your audience.
And we're going to be talking about what you call emotional source code and getting out of your own way. Before we get into the tips, the tricks, the strategies, when it comes to emotional source code, could you tell me a little bit more about it and how did you discover it? What's your story there?
Okay, that's about 4 questions stacked together. Thank you for that. So the emotional source code has come, it's a thesis that has come out of a blend of quantum physics, neuroscience and psychology, organizational psychology and subjective personal psychology. It's profoundly insightful into what it is that drives us. So very often you'll meet somebody and they'll say, I really have this shitty behavior and I want to change it. I go, okay, great. And you might say, I can help you with that. Great. And then you help them and they change the behavior and it doesn't stick. And they go, why didn't it stick? Well, maybe the problem is that you have a belief system or a value system that's holding that behavior in place. Well, yeah, I guess I have to do some real work into my behaviors and to my beliefs. Yeah, can I do some belief restructuring? Yeah, okay. You do that, and it's like, yeah, the belief's better now, and as a result, the behavior's gone away, and then a year later, back in the same boat. Why? Why does it not change? Because you have an emotional source code. And what I want you to think of that as is your emotional DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So your DNA is not dominant. It's just the most obvious. So what I mean by that is you may have a predetermination for something in your DNA. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means it's there. It's waiting to kick in. That's the same with your emotional DNA being in your emotional source code. So there's 5 levels to your emotional source code, and it starts at the base level with the foundation of it, which is the emotional source code itself, which is the environment and circumstance you grow up in. Now, let me just make that simple before you think, oh my God, we're going to spend 20 years on a couch talking to a therapist. Tell me more. No, not that. So here's what you need to understand. Do you have a sibling, Mark?
2 younger brothers.
2 younger brothers. What's the age gap between you and the youngest?
Almost 10 years.
Do you think he grew up with the same parents? Oh, is it a boy or a girl?
Boy.
Boy. Do you think he grew up with the same parents as you?
I'm going to guess there are different people at different points in their life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So he didn't have your parents. So your brother could be walking around completely pissed off at your parents, and you might be thinking they're fantastic, or vice versa. Because he didn't have the same parents. Not only have they changed and matured, but we as parents, I know because I have kids, we as parents respond differently to our firstborn than we do to our thirdborn. On top of that, there's also an economic situation. There's a pretty good chance your parents were in better financial shape by the time they had their 3rd kid than they were when they had their 1st kid. Mm-hmm. They'd matured in age, hopefully emotionally. Their relationship had also matured, again, hopefully, to make it better, and there was an economic change. So you 2 didn't have the same parents. In fact, none of you did. You all had different parents. And so as a result, you built your emotional source code based on the environment you were in. So I was born in abject poverty. with violence, crime, abuse, addiction all around me. That told me how to survive. If I'm going to make it through this, I've got to work out certain things about how to be. I look at the world and I go, that's dangerous, that's safe. We all do it. It's not because of my background. You did it. If you had a wonderful childhood, you still did it because your primary objective is to survive. That emotional source code determined the next level of your emotional source code, which is your meaning. You determined the meaning of everything. So, for instance, you're standing in the edge of the crib and you're watching your mum and dad have a scrap, and they're scrapping about paying bills. There's not enough money. You don't stand there and go, at 2 years old and go, I think my mum and dad need some therapy. They got some serious issues around money. You don't do that. You look at this scene and you go, money equals stress. So if I have money, I'm going to have a lot of stress. If I don't have money, I'm going to have a lot of stress. So what you'll find is somebody in that situation will either collect a ton of money, really gather in, like be fixated on making more and more money, or they never break through. They never financially break through because the mind operates in polarity. That's how it operates. So we assign meaning to circumstances and situations. Now, money was just one example, but it could be a million different ones. And you have assigned them. Then from that base foundational emotional DNA to your meaning, then you go, well, who can I be in this environment? And that determines a lot of things you can't be. So, for instance, in the environment I was growing up in, there was no room for me to be highly intelligent. There was no room for me to be more spiritual. There was no room for me to be highly creative or intuitive. All those things had to get pushed into the shadows. They became, quote unquote, disenfranchised. They become part of who I am that I don't have access to because I've built this identity in order to survive based on the meaning I've got. Now, if I had this identity, I'm now going to need a set of beliefs and values to hold the identity in place, and my behaviors are going to come out of that. So that's the 5 foundations of your emotional source code. Now, this is not you, Mark. It's not me. It's humans. It's how we operate. And more interestingly, it's how we build companies. We build an emotional DNA into a company. I've written many emotional source code reports for very large, Fortune 100 companies to smaller entrepreneurial companies, but I've also written them for nations. I wrote one for the United States. I wrote one for England. I even wrote one on Vladimir Putin when he invaded the Ukraine. Not that he asked me to, but I did it because one of my clients who I politically advise, strategy-wise, said, why would he do this? It doesn't make sense. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I did an emotional source code profile on him, and it was like, oh my God, it suddenly makes sense. I did one on Donald Trump in 2015 and said, here's why he's going to win the election. And people were like, shut up, don't say that. And I'm like, it's not a prediction. This is how the emotional source code works.
So once you realize you have emotional source code, you're self-aware. Where do you start to change? How do you start to change beliefs?
So the first challenge there is in the statement you made, you're self-aware. No, you're not. No, you're not. If you read a book, it doesn't mean you're now intelligent about that book, right? Most people are just gathering information, and most of it is being filtered by your habangula, which is a part of the brain that filters out things for threat. So if you read something in the book that threatens your identity, your brain naturally dismisses it. It takes discipline to not. It says that that's a stressful idea. Let's not have that. So you can have this understanding, but that's different than the application of it. You can't change the belief unless you look at. You can't change the behavior unless you look at the belief and you look at the value systems. And you can't change the value systems and the beliefs unless you change the identity. And you can't change the identity unless you examine the meaning. So when anything happens in your life, you look for, what's the meaning I've assigned here? Somebody just said to me they won $1 million. How did I react? I was kind of a bit pissed off, but I smiled. It looked like I was happy. That's interesting. There's a contradiction there. What was the meaning I gave that? I'm making up an example.
Hmm.
Okay, so this person just presented me with this idea, and I immediately wrote it off. What's the meaning I gave that? Is that a valid meaning, or is that a meaning that validates my identity?
Tell me more. What do you mean by meaning? Is it a value-based meaning? What is it? What is a meaning? How do you assign it?
You don't. It's automatic. You assigned it in childhood. So let me give you an example. Um, what is love?
Oh, wow, that's a big question.
That's the whole point. What's love?
It's something you feel for other people.
Right. So now let's go to an Italian village in 1960 and ask the nonny there, the grandma there, what is love? What does she say? She probably says, feeding my family. So what's the difference? Meaning. So meaning is expressed, is the way we interpret something way back in our childhood. That meaning may be completely incorrect. So by testing the meaning, by asking what meaning have I given this, right? You can then question, is that the meaning? I'll give you an example. Are you married, Mark?
Longtime girlfriend. May
Long
as
time
well be
girlfriend.
married.
Okay, then you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
So you have no doubt had the experience where your girlfriend has looked at you in a certain way and you went, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble."
Hmm.
Right?
Unfortunately,
I
yes.
unfortunately, yes, I have firmly planted my foot in my mouth, and in that moment, you have no idea why. Two things are happening there, and those things are meaning on both sides. You've given that look the meaning of "I'm in trouble." That may not be the case. Maybe she had gas and she pulled her face in a certain way because her belly was hurting.
Hmm.
You don't know, but you gave it meaning based on how you survived in childhood. She, on the other hand, may be making that face for a completely different set of meanings for her. Again, the tummy ache or something else altogether. You do something you think is completely innocuous and maybe even kind of kind and loving, and she thinks you're being an asshole.
So
We
what do you
don't
do? It
question
sounds like
meaning. We
you're
do automatic.
stuck.
Ah, very good. It sounds like you're stuck. And that's how most people get to. They're like, well, I'm stuck. No, you're not. Because you have to examine where that meaning came from. Once you understand where that meaning came from, it's completely dissolvable. So I work with very powerful business leaders, with entrepreneurs, with athletes, entertainers, a wide array, political people, as I said, wide array of people. And the first thing we've got to do is like, where does this meaning come from? So give me something that has meaning to you. Doesn't matter what it is. Tell me something that has meaning to you.
Friendships.
Okay, good. What do friendships mean?
Friendships mean a closeness, familiarity, support. That's what
So is
immediately comes to
closeness
mind.
is closeness proximity?
Emotional closeness
Okay, emotional closeness. What does that mean?
means that on some level you care about each other.
What does that mean?
That's
Because
where
I can think I'm being. I'm sure you've had the experience where somebody thinks they're being caring to you, and you don't feel that as caring. So what does it mean to you? Somebody is caring to you.
it means they support me
Mm,
emotionally. Yeah.
they support you. What meaning does that have? What's the meaning of support?
That I don't, just through going through life, you don't have to go through life alone. There's people that will emotionally support you, lift you up, bring you back if you fall, things like that.
Okay, so lift you up, bring you back if you fall. Okay, so take that a little bit deeper. What does that mean?
You're not alone, or I'm not alone.
I'm not alone. What's the meaning of not being alone for you?
I mean, the knee jerk reaction is just having somebody else there. I mean, that's
Well,
what comes
you
immediately to
can go
mind.
hang out at the mall and have somebody else there. That's not the answer, obviously. So what does it mean?
I
Having
think it would
someone
mean
else
what
there.
I mentioned, the emotional support.
So it means you have somebody there who can give you emotional support.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Okay, good. Where was that lacking in your childhood? You don't have to answer me, but you do need to think about it. I don't,
Okay.
because I'm not going to ask you to expose yourself here. If you want to, we can keep going, but if you don't want to, it's fine. I'll try, it's up to you.
I
But
had
what
an emotionally distant father, abusive father.
there you go. So you didn't have that emotional support. So this becomes a thing of great meaning to you because it's reliant upon this deficit in your childhood. So you highly value somebody who can be there for you, who can emotionally support you because you didn't get it.
Mm.
You have transposed that into your life. It's not you, Mark. It's what we do. It's humans. It's what we do. Like I said, this is neuroscientifically based. It's psychologically based. So that's what you do. So you place a much higher value on that than somebody else who maybe had completely supportive parents. It means more to you. What's more is you also have a, a higher fragility around it, which means you have a hyper awareness of when you feel like somebody's not doing that. Right? It's like, oh, that was a bit off, and the person's like, it was nothing for them, but for you, it sets off the warning lights that there's a hyper vigilance, a hyper awareness that this is not something's off here. That's your emotional source code. Playing out in how you are doing business, playing out in how you are building friendships and associations. All of those things are playing out. So now you've gone back to the meaning. Here's where it came from. So you go, okay, so now I'm friends with Charlie. I thought he was my mate. I thought he was a good buddy. I thought he was really there for me. And then he did this thing and it's kind of really pissed me off. And I don't trust him so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is it real? Well, possibly. Is it a lie? Also possibly. Let's find out. In that moment, when Charlie did X, what about it reminded me of my childhood? Well, when he said it this way, it was kind of dismissive, like my dad was. Or when he did it this way, he kind of had that arrogance and pissosity that my father had when he was drunk. Oh, okay. So now what I'm looking for, I'm now not dismissing, I'm paying attention now. I'm now saying, is this a character trait of Charlie? Or is this a bump in the road? Because I don't know about you, but I put my foot in my mouth a lot in my life, right?
Yeah.
And if you judge me on that moment, I'd have nobody in my life. Because we all hit bumps in the road for whatever the reasons and the circumstances are. But if things show up consistently, you can recognize a pattern and you go, oh, it's a pattern. Now, if you go, oh my God, this pattern's been going on for 10 years with Charlie and I've never done anything about it, here's the news. You're trying to change Charlie. You're actually continuing that relationship because you want to heal the thing in your childhood. So you want Charlie to be changed by his interaction with you because that will tell your psyche there's nothing wrong with me. Because look,
Hmm.
I got Charlie to be loving towards me, and Charlie was just like my dad who couldn't be loving, and I couldn't get him to be loving to me, so I got Charlie to be loving to me. Ah. And here's the fascinating thing about it. You're building businesses on it. You're building entire businesses on your emotional source code. You're serving people. You're trying to sell them things based on your emotional source code. Not based on the truth, not based on who they are, based
Tell me
on
more
your
about that.
emotional needs.
Tell me more about that based on your emotional needs. What do you mean with the business?
I'm glad you're intrigued. So, what is it? Can we do personal?
Sure.
Okay. What are you selling to the world as your business? What do you sell?
One of them is events.
Events. Okay.
Yeah.
You're selling events, but events is an outcome. What are you actually selling about those events?
Networking, business relationships.
You're selling relationships. The opportunity for relationships.
Yes.
What was the emotional need in childhood?
Relationships.
Ta-da. You're
Damn, that's
selling
good.
what you needed. When you get that, when an entrepreneur gets that, their world becomes wow. Now I know what it is. I'm not selling events. Who gives a shit about events? I'm selling the opportunity for fantastic connected relationships with people who actually give a shit about you. Now you're not selling an event anymore. You're selling this emotional fire you're excited about because you're going to give the world the very thing you needed. And when you do that, it feels so damn good. It's not a sale. It's a piece of your soul reconnected. It's like, oh yes, I'm on the path. Because so many people you say, what's your mission? What's your purpose? They tell you something. I'm like, honestly, because I'm direct, I'm like, no, that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you mean? I read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. Fantastic. It's a good book. It's a great book. And it says, start with why. It's not the end. Go deeper into your emotional source code. Find out what the emotional need was. That's what's driving your purpose. When you get that, it's like, okay, now I know what I actually have to offer.
So what do I do with it? That makes sense. Now, continuing your thought that you just put out there kind of on my behalf. Okay, now I know what I have to offer. I'm offering the opportunity to build relationships. What do I do with that meaning to keep improving and not do what you mentioned earlier? Fast forward 6 months, I revert to the old meaning. How do I maintain that new meaning and have an aha moment that's longer than just a blip in the radar for a couple months?
Yeah. Who gives a shit about aha moments? What you actually want. All right, I'm going to be very, very direct here. We all, maybe you're not old enough, but I'm certainly old enough to remember watching Oprah every week. Mm-hmm. Me and about, I think it was 100 million other people, right? We watched Oprah every week. And if you watched Oprah every week, you had multiple aha moments during that hour. How did it change your life? It didn't. It gave you bragging rights, and what bragging rights are is you got to tell other people about this aha, and you got to look smart and wise, and it changed nothing. So most of us are running around like chickens with our head cut off looking for the next aha moment. So what? Who cares? It won't do anything. I'm going to be direct now, so if you're offended by strong language, plug your ears. You don't want aha moments. You need fuck it moments. Moments that make you go, fuck it. I am not doing that anymore. Fuck it. That's not actually who I am. That's not the way I want to live. If you don't have that level, and I use that term on purpose, because if you don't have that level of emotional energy, remember it's your emotional source code. If you don't have that level of emotional energy, you're not going to change anything. Nothing is going to change because of a good idea. Antonio Damasio, who is a great neuroscientist, talks about that we like to think that we are rational beings. We are not. We are emotional beings who make rational decisions after. We do nothing more than rationalize our emotional decision. We are a post-rational creature. When you understand that, you go, well, okay, then I don't have to justify. I have to get connected to what sets my heart and my soul on fire. Not with some rah-rah, but with starting with, fuck it. I've been selling events. That's nonsense. No wonder I'm having frustration. No wonder I can't get people to buy into what it is I'm selling. I'm not selling events. Hey, Dov, I'd like to talk to you. Yes, what is it? I am in the business of putting people together in the most profound environments where they have the greatest opportunity to build really deep and powerful relationships. We call them events, but this is what they're really about. No, I'm interested, as opposed to, you're just another schmuck selling events.
That's awesome.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. So it's embracing it and leaning into that meaning then?
Oh, you must lean into it from the point of, it's not the meaning I gave it, it's the meaning of what it is I needed that I couldn't get. Now, people go, I had a wonderful child. I'm like, give it a rest. Then what do you mean? John Bradshaw, one of the greatest psychologists of all time, said 97% of people grew up in dysfunctional families and the other 3% are liars. Now, what it means is it doesn't mean your dad beat you every Tuesday. He might have done, but that's not what we're talking about. The fact of the matter is, it's not possible to be a perfect parent. So even if you had great parents, there were things you emotionally needed you just couldn't get. Not because they were bad people, but because maybe there were half a dozen other kids. Maybe there was no money. Maybe dad had to work 70 hours a week just to make ends meet. There's a million other reasons that doesn't make them abusive, but it makes them so that you miss something emotionally. And so you've got to look at what did I emotionally need, because that's actually what I'm trying to get. And if I lean into that, then I get it by giving it. You are healed by healing. You give what it is that you want. And that's a business formula that I teach very powerful entrepreneurs. Very, very powerful. One company we work with, new CEO, he came in, I was helping him with this. And he's like, I want to change this company. I want to change what it's about. And I said, okay, let's really look at that. How long are you going to be in the seat? Because the average in the seat is 2 to 5 years. He goes, I want 10 years in the seat. I want to walk it through to profound change. I go, then that's got to be built on your healing. And he's like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of this. So we talked about this. He changed the meaning of the company, of the organization, and it increased the annual profits by 100 million in the first quarter.
By changing the meaning?
By changing that meaning. And because he just said, we're not about X, which is our product, which I can't mention. We're not about X. We're about this, and X facilitates it. X just facilitates it. Just like your events facilitate it. But what we do is we think it's the product. We go, I got to focus on my events are better than Charlie's events. Well, now you're in competition. You're a waste of time. Right? You've commoditized yourself immediately. As soon as you commoditize yourself, you're out of business. You might as well just pack it up. But what you've done there is shifted out of commoditization into something that is emotionally visceral, not just for you, but for them. Now, to be clear, the wonderful thing about that is you'll put some people right off. And you better cheer for that. That's fantastic. Because you won't be selling to people who don't want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
You're only selling to people who are like, that's exactly what I want. You don't want yeses. You want, of course, I get it.
So how do you get them? Is it explaining it from an emotional standpoint to have them, and I use air quotes, get it?
Yes. It's explaining it, as I said, thinking like, so doing the work I just outlined to find out what it is you need and then how you can give that to the world via your product, your whatever it is, your X that you offer to the world. How am I going to meet that need in the world using this? Now, I will tell you that sometimes an entrepreneur goes, I can't. I'm in totally the wrong business. I got to get out. Okay, great. We got to find someone else for you. That does happen. I won't say it doesn't, but mostly it doesn't have to happen. It's like, oh, I can see why I got this. So, for instance, one of the firms I work with is a financial organization. And there are 4 senior partners who I work with privately and collectively. Those 4 are my individual and collective clients that I work with. Not one of them has even a similar background. The 4 partners have incredibly different backgrounds. But when we boil down to get to their corporate purpose, which is what the work we've been doing lately. So we did their individual purpose, which again is not that why, it's deeper than that. It's that meaning. And then we put those together and we go, well, what's the collective purpose? And each one of them is like, well, of course I went into finance. I came from an incredibly broke family. I was always fearful it was going to be money. Another one's like, well, of course I got into finance. Money was made bad. Another one's like, well, of course I got into finance. I grew up in business. I mean, it doesn't, like, we've all got our own reasons for getting in. But then the question is, well, okay, I'm in this. So, of course, I got into it. I understand. How does it meet that need I wanted? And that is entirely unique and subjective. But that means that each one of those 4 is selling the services of that organization in an entirely unique way and having massive success, as opposed to having some bullshit formula. Well, we do this and we're always on that and we're about integrity. Shut up. Here's why this company matters to me. Here's why I'm doing this. This is what we're about. That's coming from a totally personal place. Now the person in front of you can really connect with you and connect with what you're offering.
This has just been amazingly insightful with everything we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time when it comes to emotional source code and assigning meaning or recognizing meaning. If someone's listening or watching thinking, okay, I get it. If you're to say, if you're going to embrace it, at least do this one thing, what would you tell people to do?
I would ask you to ask this simple question, which is, what is it that I needed in my childhood that I could not get or could not get enough of? So you might go, well, I got it, but yeah, maybe you just didn't get enough of it. Right? So it's not about making your parents or their parenting wrong. They might have been terrible parents. They might have been marvelous. It's not about that. It's what did you need that you couldn't get or couldn't get enough of? That's step number one. And then asking yourself, how can I get that need met via my business? And how can I meet that need for others who don't even know they need it, but they need it? See, most people are walking around, as you just talked about earlier, they're unconscious. They don't know what they need. Right? If I'd have said to you, what's the purpose of your events? What's the meaning of your events? You probably wouldn't have got to where you got to today. Right? So, and that's not because you're daft or because you're ignorant. It's because you don't know what to ask. You don't know how to get that. But now you do. And so once you go through that process, so I do an analysis with people where I'll help them at least get to this level. You can book a private appointment with me for 45 minutes to an hour to do that. All my clients who work with me long term have to go through a vetting process, and it's a much bigger process, and it's considerably more expensive because we're actually going to tear down the emotional source code and rebuild it. But that part there, that's the part you can do. You can play this video over and over again, keep listening to it, and stop it and pause it and take notes and stop. And if you feel like you can't do it alone, sometimes you can't, that's okay. You can reach out to me, dov@dovbaron.com. That's my email, and it's my private email. I give it out. You can reach out to me. You can book an hour with me, and I'll help you to get to this place just like I just did with Mark.
Thank you so much for this, Dov. I appreciate you. This has been amazing.
You're very welcome, sir. Listen, the point of it is very simply this. I believe, it's not the truth. I believe we're here on the planet to serve. I'm here to serve. And the best way for you to serve is to meet your need and to help others meet that very same need. And that's why there is no competition. You can have 6 other people lined up next to you who all put on events, and there's no competition once you understand the emotional source code. It evaporates. Some of my closest friends are the people who should be my competitors. They should be. On paper, they should be. We're all corporate consultants. We're working around purpose and culture and blah, blah, blah. Geez, aren't you? No, why? We're not in the same business. It looks like it. The label on the top is the same. The label on the box is exactly the same. The contents of the box, vastly different. This is your way out of competition. This is your way to serve in the world in a way you never even imagined. And once you get that, it's not only financially very profitable, but it's deeply, soulfully fulfilling. And that's what matters.
That is a beautiful way to end it. Thank you again, Dov. I appreciate you.
You're very welcome, sir.
And scene.